Welcome to PCI's Tech TV mini-series, Python Development with Geomatica and ArcGIS. In this final episode of the mini-series, we're going to demonstrate how to create a simple Geomatica script where the parameters can be set up and the script executed from ArcMap through a user toolbox. So let's get right into it. So first we need to create the Python code that will launch the function or workflow we want to execute. In this case, we're going to be running the pan-sharp function from Geomatica's library. So I've already created part of the code here, so let's just take a look at it. So you can see that I'm importing the ArcPy library. I'm also importing the pan-sharp2 function or the pan-sharp2 module from the Geomatica library. Now I've set up a couple of empty variables here. Now this variable we wanted to take in the input multispectral image. The next one we wanted to take in the input panchromatic image. And then finally we want the input or the output image, pan-sharpened image that the function will create. But we want these variables to be passed to the script through ArcMap. So we're going to show you how to do that in a moment. The last thing that we do is we just run or we call the pan-sharp2 function and then pass the necessary arguments. So for those of you who are not familiar with what pan-sharpening is, it's really the process of fusing a high-resolution panchromatic image with a lower resolution coincidentally captured multispectral image. The idea is that we want to produce a high-resolution multispectral image, as you can see is on the screen now. So now that we understand the pan-sharpening process and have the basis of our script, let's proceed to setting up the GUI in ArcMap. So we're now going to create the toolbox in the GUI that's going to be responsible for setting up the script parameters as well as launching that script directly within ArcMap here. So to do this, we can go to My Toolboxes. We're just going to right-click on here, go to New. We're going to add a new toolbox, so just the regular toolbox. We can call this whatever we want. So I'm going to call mine Geomatica. I'm going to put a Geomatica function in here. And then we're going to create a new tool set. So this one we could call Image Processing, or whatever you wish. And then here we're going to put in a script. So we're going to add a script. So right click on there, go Script. We can create the name, so you can create whatever you want. So we'll just call it pan-sharp2, which is the function in Geomatica. And then for display on the GUI here, we'll just call it pan-sharpening, perhaps enhanced pan-sharpening. We can add a description if we like. Now what is important is that we turn this off. We uncheck the always run in foreground option because it needs to use the background 64-bit geoprocessing functions of ArcGIS. So now we can click Next, and now it wants us to point to the script file itself. So we're going to point to here. We're going to find our pan-sharp script file. So we have pan-sharp.py. So we can open that up, and we're just going to keep this checked, so run Python script in process. We can then go Next. So now it wants us to set up our parameters. So by reverting back to our script, we can see here that we have 3 parameters that we want to set up. So we have the multispectral input file, the panchromatic input file, and then our output pan-sharpened file. So I'm going to create our first parameter. We'll just call it ms input. And we have to assign it to a data type. So here we're just going to assign it to a generic file. The next one we need is pan input. And we're just going to assign it also to file. And you can see here that we have some options. So we have the direction, which is these are both inputs. So we want to make sure that they're inputs and they're both required. So the user must set that up. And then finally, we can have output pan-sharpened. Now we're also going to set this to file. And this one we're going to change from input to output. So here we've basically set up our function now, but we just need to map our parameters that we created here to the parameters in our script. So to do this, we have the option of importing or taking in those parameter information as arguments. So for this I can create import sys, which is a library, an intrinsic library that comes with Python. And basically we're just going to take the sys.argv, and we're going to take the first argument, sys.argv, second argument, assign it to that one, sys.argv, and we'll take the third argument there. So what this basically does is if we go back to our script here, we can see that, just move this off here, so we can see that basically the first parameter maps to the first variable, sysargv1, the second one is sysargv2, and then the third one here is sysargv3. It's that simple. One important thing to remember though is that the first argument for the argv is always the script itself. So sys.argv0 is just the script itself. So we have to pass 1. We start from 1 with this list here. Okay, so now we can close this. We're just going to now return to our arc map here. And we're just going to verify. So another thing that's important is you need to go to the geoprocessing and verify that this is enabled. Otherwise your script will not run correctly. Okay, so now we can just simply set it up. So for my MS input, I'm going to go to our desktop. I'm going to find our data folder, find our multispectral Pleiades image, load that. We're going to find go back to the same folder, find our panchromatic Pleiades image, and then finally go to the output, and we're just going to call it whatever we want. So we'll call it arcmap underscore pansharp.pix. Okay, so now we can click OK to run our script. So it's running in the background as a background geoprocess, so we'll let this finish through. Okay, so we can see that it finished, and then it automatically loaded the pan-sharpened image onto the screen here. So if we zoom to raster resolution, we can see that we get our nice pan-sharpened result here. And that's all there is to it.